the intro to what I'm really hoping is the last Snowcat video. We've got the Holy Grail. Come in, check it out. It showed up. I don't know if you watched the end of our last Snowcat episode. We were waiting on the harness. Oh, it was so frustrating. I don't know. I've been frustrated. How about you, Derek?
Yeah, this is all taking way too long.
But we got the parts. Everything's cool. I'm stoked. This is gonna be cool. We got our ECU here. Hello.
One shiny new harness.
Just lay that out for the ladies. Actually, I could model it. Hey. Okay, guys. So now it's time to get down to business. We've got our harness here. We're going to be working on finishing our exhaust, getting our O2 bungs in there, buttoning up, putting some fluids in, and I'm sure there's going to be 100 other things that go wrong in the meantime, but that's what we're here for. So what we're doing is modding up our exhaust. We've got our flanges, we've got our exhaust piece. We just trimmed this one down. So the idea is going to be that we want to come out of there like 90 degree, and then we just want a 90 degree into that. So now you get to watch a cool stop motion of us making this do to this. Yeah, like that.
Well done. All right, and now we let the not welder weld.
Not terrible, huh, Derek?
Not terrible.
It would have been better if I didn't keep stopping. Look at that quality. What do you think?
It'll work.
Stepdad's got it still?
He's got something.
Nice. You could tell it's a good weld by the way that it is. Oh God, that's terrible. This is the final product. Zoom in, get in there nice and deep, like check all that out.
The non-welder.
Non-welder welds. So, as you can see, everything is welded. It lines up pretty good. So now I'm just gonna pull this off, because the next step, like we were saying before, now that the harness is here, we got everything kind of measured out, we're gonna get our O2 bungs done. So that's one of our O2 sensors, and I think what we're gonna do is pull this pipe back off and put it right there, which you can't probably see at all. In there somewhere. Nice and tucked away and out of the way. So we'll pull that off and drill the hole and weld the bung in. And there we go. My side is done. Competition achieved. Got my O2 bung welded in. Everything's perfectly welded, as you can tell. Hell yeah, that's from my sweet tack. The rest of it, I mean, I haven't welded in so long, but it's definitely gonna do the job. Not the best thing in the world, but whatever. There we have it, all mocked up. The flanges aren't bolted down, but the gasket still needs to go in there and up there, but got my O2 in, pointed the right direction. We got good clearances everywhere. And now, we get to pull the whole hydraulic pump assembly back apart, because this is wiggling really bad, this flange here. Which we're all wiggling really bad because we've had like, how many earthquakes today? Four big earthquakes today, which has been really fun to be working on this outside because, you know, inside earthquake, we had to lower all the cars off the lifts. I'm shaking right now. Look at me shaking. Can't even hold the camera straight. Yeah, it's been an exciting day here. We've just been working on a Snowcat, making this thing sweet, and super getting earthquakes. naturally we're gonna run into some issues, right, Derek? Fun
Always.
times, fun times. So, I don't know if you can see, but in here, we cut a tiny hole for our steam port.
You can kind of see it through this way if you want to.
I'll try. Shaky camera footage, and you can sort of see it. Right there. We put a drill bit and we drilled a hole because the steam port setup that we're using is off an LS1 because it uses all 4 corners. We have a theory that that works a lot better for what we do. So now we've got, this is just our mock alternator, but we've got this bracket, which is a truck bracket that we've modified. We've cut the bottom off, which would have held the power steering, which we obviously don't need anymore. So the steam port's not quite clearing right, and causing us some grief, and our intake is actually having trouble clearing essentially through this space right here. So we're gonna pull this off, use the water jet, essentially cut that whole idler bracket pulley off, and then we should be golden, huh?
I think it should work.
I hope so. We've got the rest of our exhaust system welded up. Sturdy, like oaks. Now, if you can peek all the way back here, you see those 2 little nubbins of love right there. That is our transmission cooler fittings. So I'm gonna take these out with not my bare hands, I guess. They're 15, I think. So pop that on there, that on there, over here. They're the dumbest things in the world.
A few moments later.
That's a paint.
One eternity later.
Yeah, that's not even doing anything. That's sturdy paint. Like oaks. We've had a crazy day today. So to just recap, by the way, that's what this looks like.
Dirty.
Dirty. And now we have our transmission cooler, which you can see here. So we converted our transmission cooler to run 6AN fittings, which that is a normal, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like a GM.
MP. I don't know what that would be called technically.
It's not an, it's like a GM click fitting.
Yeah,
There's like click in and click out.
release, boys.
So we're changing that to these, which this threads right into the transmission, converts it to 6AN, so our lines for our cooler would just be 6AN. Hooray! Yes, you go in there, you dirty little fitting. Then we'll tighten that down. We got a little rubber gasket on there. Ta-da! And now the moment we have been waiting for. Time to put this into this. Hell yeah, brother. So right now we got to drill a hole for our harness to poke through. What did we decide the boot was?
About 2.5.
2.5 for the grommet.
Got a 2.5 hole saw here. So.
Well, we want to go a little smaller because that's going to sit inside. You know what I mean? So what's that grommet on this side?
2.25.
Debating.
2.25.
So it's probably 2-inch on the inside of that. Because see how this is stepped? So basically, this right here is 2.5. This side is 2.25. So I would assume that the inside's probably a 2. So if we cut our hole at a 2, we should be able to click this boot into our hole. Oh, this is gonna fuck.
Yeah, this isn't gonna be a fun chore.
Oh yeah.
That was way easier than I thought it was gonna go through.
He's Milwaukee, bro.
Just a tour.
These tools are sick. Oh. Bum, bum, bum. Here is the dash, which I don't think we've shown anybody, of the sweet old Snowcat. Here's our old, obviously for our buttons, we got a CB radio in here. We've got the mess, which if you remember in one of the episodes, the first episode, we cut that whole harness out of the front because this stuff is all just going to have to be redone. But now, this is where our shifter used to be. This is where our shifter goes now. Our e-brake is non-functional because that was a trans e-brake and we just decided to get rid of it. So the shifter goes here now, but now we've got the mess of harness. So this is where the ECU, power, everything's going to sit. So now it's just going to be setting all of that up underneath that. Okay, so a little bit interesting with the old wiring still in here, but just ignore that. Where the old shifter used to go, because now we're doing the floor shifter, we're just going to build a plate that will bolt in there, and it'll have all of our fuses and relays right here. Easy access, easy to diagnose if anything's wrong. Our OBD2 will plug in right there. Also easy to access, easy to see if anything goes wrong. And then we've got the ECU, which mounts, I guess, kind of on the floor. It seems like it's
Check this out.
in the way a little bit more. But Victor just got a treasure there. What do you got, Victor? That looks like an abomination of some sort. It works. Yay, Snowcat's fixed. So ECU mounts kind of on the floor. I'm short, maybe a tall person would touch it, but it's gonna, you know, put your foot over there. It's mostly out of the way. We don't really have a choice. We routed probably, what do you think? I bet we routed like two more feet of that harness back through there. And so all this, obviously old garbage we'll have to get rid of, but as far as the actual LS swappiness of it, that is a real word. We're good to go. So we had Victor and Sam, and they went to the junkyard for us to try to solve our intake dilemma. This is a factory intake off of Suburban, and it is a doer. That, my friends, is an intake. It has all the balance tubes in it. So now what? Do we just take the air box and mount it on the outside of the hood and make some kind of weird cold air? No, we're obviously not going to do that, but it was still funny. I guess on to the next plan B. So you can check this out. This is with our changes made. We cut all that off. All that's cut off. I think we've got plenty of structural integrity here. We got our brackets. I think it's going to be perfect, and I bet it clears the steam port now.
I bet it works great.
I bet it's perfect. Okay. Well, there you go. And like so much room of clearance for that steam port line compared to what we had before.
Yeah, that looks way better.
Now the challenge is just gonna keep being that intake tube. So we worked hard all day long. It is now night-ish time. If you can see behind me, we've got just all those things done. We were so close. We couldn't get the intake figured out. I'm not sure what we're gonna do about it. but I don't think it's already 8 o'clock. We've had, how many did we had like 3 major earthquakes today, a 5.6 magnitude and 2 4.7 magnitudes. And that was all in Salt Lake City, Utah, which, you know, is not, you know, we don't do earthquakes here. So I guess we'll have to try again tomorrow. Oh, okay. We didn't have any earthquakes last night, so that was cool. I guess now is going to be the start of day 2 of trying to get this bad Johnny running. As you can see, we've got inclement weather, which, you know, of course we got to have that going on. So let's see how much stuff we can get done. And this is what it looked like under all of that panel. So we are gonna rip all that out and do a new one. So this is with all of the old stuff removed. We don't need any of that anymore. That's probably where we're gonna mount that fuse box. Above it right here, or maybe below right here where the CB used to sit, we'll probably put our OBD2 port so we have gauges. We're actually just gonna plug basically like a reader into that, and it's gonna have a heads-up display that sits up here that'll give us all of our speed and stuff like that. Or we'll make a hole for it right here in the dash, and then that's where it'll all sit. But we're working on shifter mounting right now. Cool shifter. This is kind of a chore. So originally we probably would have wanted to mount this shifter underneath the tunnel. We have about 8 inches between the transmission and this piece right here. Problem is the tranny's already in, everything's already done. So to get this to mount above, we'd have to really fight ourselves. So this is our actuator rod here, as I yard sell everything. So basically we're gonna cut a hole in the floor right here, extend the arm on the side of the shifter, this guy. This is your quad arm, and we'll extend it out to about here, connect it to this rod, and we should be able to hit our selector on the transmission. I don't know if you can see it, but that is our drive line with removable yoke, so we can slide it in and out. We did have to unbolt the transmission mount right there to get it to wiggle in, but transmission's all in, bolted in, drive line's in, and now we need to remove that right there. That is our shift selector that we were talking about for the shifter, and then we have to cut a hole right there. So that little arm is actually going to reach all the way down here, grab that, and that'll be our shifter setup. And now it's a monsoon. So while it's monsooning, we're gonna measure the transmission cooler lines. I'm using one of the old hydraulic lines and just sticking it up back here to the tranny, and then we're just routing everything so that we can get that part nice and done and everyone's happy. Ugh. Earthquake yesterday, rain clouds and stormy bullcrap today. Yeah, I just don't know if the cosmos wants us to finish our old LS Snowcat. Sorry these videos are like all over the place and whatnot, but we were really rushing to get this bad Johnny done. So, step number 77, here's our floppy ground straps. We got a few of those. We've installed our O2 sensor in the exhaust. All the wires are hooked up. You can see how this is dangling right now. We're gonna have to like tuck it up and do something with it. That right there is our brand new starter. So that means all the wiring on that side's done. We've got our pump tight. Oh, I guess we don't. Whoops. The pump's tight, the hose isn't. We've got our radiator hose in, our upper radiator hose on. Tensioner, belt, everything's good to go. Obviously we showed you the modified alternator bracket. Got our brand new alternator on there with a little bit of modification to get it to clear the coil packs. This is for our MAF. So right now we're working on an intake. Our steam port line we just zip tied to the radiator because we didn't have anything fancier. So it's kind of an update right now. We're really cranking away at this. Probably should have done more stop motion so you guys could listen to funny music and watch us work. But the harness is coming out. It's really hard to tell and it's hard to show you, but that's the harness right there, what my finger's touching. So we need to tuck that up in there. We've got our entire dash cut out. So we're getting that all mocked up right now and doing our shifter. So yeah, fun stuff. I just feel like it would have been so much easier to build that Snowcat than the one we built. Plus look, it's got like, I don't know what this is. I think it's a rocket launcher. I mean, come on, that's way cooler than what we did.